Alright folks, in this video I just want to show you my shifter that I'm trying to install. It's a B&M Magnum grip. For those that don't know, I'm trying to swap to an automatic, and from my standard shift, and I had to install this. I know there's a channel, Joe Wrenches, where he installed a B&M. It's a different type than this. Some of you 2G guys might want something like this. Right now this is set up for a 2-speed, and probably what I'm going to do, because it's pretty close there, not quite hitting it, probably going to put some washers up under here. I had to make a bracket to get this to fit, but get a couple of washers up underneath it just to back it off of here. But basically what you do, just squeeze the trigger, pull it back in reverse, neutral, and that's I guess that would be your drive, and then that's basically your first gear. So basically what you're doing when you're racing, this is the first gear you're starting out in. Bump it forward and go again. But on this one, I believe that would be neutral. This is set up for a 2-speed. I've got a plate that I ordered that goes right here along the side that's going to set it up for a 3-speed. But then, even though I don't have the knob on it yet, there's a knob over here. You press it forward, and then you can take it all the way forward back into park. So I think it'll be nice once I actually have it running and be able to hit through the gears. Automatics have always bored me to death, but I figured this give me some entertainment, and also to be able to hit the gears when I want them, as far as that's concerned. Look a little bit more racy. I am going to have a shift boot in here. I'm going to have one custom done. This is one I had on here before. It's going to have to be a little bit wider around the top. I'm going to have it custom done so that it fits around this part right here. I'll unscrew this bolt right here, that part right there, so I can get the boot over it once it's made. Then I'll bolt that back up. I'll cut a slit through it and have it stitched around the edge. It'll go over this part and put the knob in there, and then that way I can put it back on. But let me get this console back off here and show you guys exactly what I got going on underneath, because I had to make a bracket. If I didn't have the bracket to raise it up, this thing would basically be sitting down a lot lower. So let me let me get this console back off. I don't have it bolted down or anything. Show you guys what I'm talking about and what I've got involved. So. All right, so real quick, this is what I've got going on underneath it. You see the bracket I had to make. Nothing real fancy. I just took some angle iron and cut some pieces, welded it together. You see how far or how low to the tunnel here it would have been sitting had I not had this bracket that I made. But I don't have it bolted down real firm just yet. So it still wobbles just a little bit, very little. I just don't have it tight. Just trying to get a good indication on where things are going to sit. Excuse my wiring here. This is for my battery relocation that's going up through the tunnel. I didn't really, excuse me, I didn't really want it through the side down by the door, so I wanted mine up towards the front. I didn't want anything pinching it or anything like that. So, but anyway. I'll take a video real quick, or I'll take this all off. I'll try and show you what's involved as far as getting it done. Nothing real complicated, just making a brace or a bracket to raise it up a little bit to make life easier. But you can see the gate where it's going through, as far as when you're shifting through. And pull it back, and that would be I believe your first gear that you're getting to. You can just pull it straight on back and then bump it. That's the where it stops, and then that's neutral on this one. Once I get the other plate, and I have to squeeze the trigger one more time, bump it up to the other gear, and then into neutral. So, and that's reverse and drive. So anyway, let me I'll take this off. I'll show you what's involved. Nothing real complicated, just a little bit of measuring and a little bit of work. So, but give me just a moment. Be right back with you. All right, so this is the piece I bought. I think it was like just over $300. I personally feel it looked pretty nice. There's some that get way on up there. There's some a little bit cheaper. There's some that can look like just a regular shift knob on it. You can't tell between a automatic or manual. I kind of wanted mine to have the racy look to it, and I don't really care to making it look like a manual when it's not. So just want to have something that looks nice. But here's what I've got so far. This is the bracket that I'm making, and as you can see, I ran out of welding wire. Now for mine, I'm just using a cheap old $100 flex core welder from Harbor Freight. It gets the job done. I ran out of wire right here. I did some tacks. I have to go back and clean it up a little bit. It gets the job done. So I'm not looking at it as up under the console. You can make things look nice even with a flex core welder, even if you don't really personally think so. Take you around here to my car. Even, excuse my mess here, but anyway, even this piece right here I made, and this piece right here I cut off too much when I was making this exhaust. I was really having to measure because going through the hood, I'm still cleaning all that up. So but anyway, when I made this, I actually cut this too short right here. So this piece right here I actually had to weld back on, grind it back down, painted the whole thing. Could have left it all with the metal look. It's too shiny for my taste, but this is all done with the flux core welder. I've done other projects with the flux core, but just because it's a flux core doesn't mean you can't make nice things with it. You just got to be able to work it. So how you want it, clean up any spatter off of it, make it look nice. But just to go back around here, what we're doing though, all I did, I took some, this is just some angled pieces of metal. This is actually from a trailer ramp that I had cut apart, and the ramps that lower down for you to drive up and on, up and off of. This was actually the support up underneath it to support it to the ground, and I just cut it up into a bunch of little pieces. I was just trying to modify the trailer I had at the time, but you can see how I've got it done. One I just overlapped here, and then this piece right here just took a little bit of measuring and where I needed it, and then the holes where I cut it. Now this piece right here I'm not currently using for this hole. I'm going to have to modify that a little bit because when I put the bolt through, it's hitting right here. So I'm not quite done with it, but I'm getting it done. But as you can see, it raises it up significantly. Unlike the Joe Wrench's video where he was able to get his right to the tunnel in his car, can't do that. This is a 2G. He was working on a first gen. Can't just do that and have it fit. So I tried that, but the console would have sat like right up in here. So as far as that's concerned, so I couldn't do that. So anyway, let's just walk over here. I'll show you what I got going on as far as the tools I'm using. It's not really a whole lot of tools I use, basically. Now I did go, this is a Harbor Freight extension cord as well. I buy one with a three plug outlet, and the reason why is because I like to have my grinder. I like to have my grinder with a sanding disc, a cutoff wheel. That's what obviously is going to cut your metal, and then sand anything down or any sharp edges if you need to. Sometimes you can grind a little bit of metal down if you really got to. I think this grinder, this is a Harbor Freight as well. I think it was about 30-40 bucks. It wasn't too bad. I don't really go get snap-on. I'm not working at a shop. I'm just, little home hobbyist. Got my drill. This is great for, sometimes when you're welding with a flux core. This is my flux core welder. That was about 100 bucks or so. But you want to sand down any or wire brush down any of your welds after you're done. Each time you do it, because it does get kind of messy, you can't weld back over without having to wire brush everything down. So putting this in the end of a drill makes life a lot easier, gets it done real quick. Step drill bit, I forget how much this was, maybe 20 bucks, something like that. That's great as opposed to having to get a whole bunch of different drill bit sizes. You got one piece right here, and this is what I used. Just this one drill bit size. That was for the bolt holes. I think I went down to the third step right there for the shifter to the mount, and I think I went all the way down or pretty close to it. I think it was the step right here for bolting it to the floor. But these do come in real good handy as far as that's concerned. And I got my flux core. I got my wire speed kind of up higher. Just me personally, find out if I do a little bit slower speeds, it wants to bounce a little bit on me. And I've never had to use the the minimum and the maximum down to minimum. I always have it maximum. And these are pretty easy. All you do is just have a nice clean surface, clamp your clamp on it, and just pull your trigger, and the wire comes on out. And then you don't have to rush it. It may take some practice. Sometimes I go a little bit slow, wait for a puddle to build up, and move along. So nothing real expensive going on here. And this is basically some of the tools I use for the job. Measuring tape, obviously. Vice grips to kind of clamp the metal when I'm working it. Center punch for drilling the holes. A hammer, of course, for the center punch. And this is kind of the metal right here that I was using. There's nothing real fancy. You can probably get some of this stuff up and just chop it up in a bunch of pieces, but it basically depends on what you need to do. You could get a plate, you've got a bender, you could get real fancy. I'm just trying to make it work, and this is really nice thick stuff. It ain't gonna go nowhere. It's not gonna flex. It's pretty thick, but it gets the job done. So, and believe it or not, yeah, some of you guys are probably gonna laugh. I got a cereal box out here, but cereal boxes, they're great for making templates. This very thin cardboard, just my scissors and my Sharpie if I got to make any mark where I'm cutting. Sorry, trying to get my cereal box here, but stuff's real flimsy, so I mean it's real easy to cut the shape however you need it. You can draw on it, bend it, and cut it to whatever shape. I'll show you here in just a moment, but if you got any old cereal boxes, I use these a lot when I'm fabricating for whatever I need. But I'll cut a piece out and show you what I did, and give me just a moment. Almost forgot, I went to go mention the reason why I like a 3-prong extension cord, and then I went on to talking about the other tools and I almost forgot. But I like this one right here. For one, it's got the light that tells me that it's plugged in. I've actually got power to it, so I'm not having to figure out if I got a shortage somewhere, what the issue is. But it's nice to have the drill, grinder, and the welder all plugged in at the same time, because it gets real old swapping them out. If you weld, then you gotta use the drill with the wire brush on the end of it, swap back out to wire brush it down with the drill, with the adapter on there. Then you're done. Have to put the welder back in. It gets real old doing all that. So it's easier just to plug all 3 in. Usually 3 is about the most I need. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've gotten this. I think it was maybe about 30 bucks, something like that at Harbor Freight. This is a thicker one, just for the load of the welder. I want to make sure I didn't have anything real thin. But anyway, almost forgot. I just want to go over the reason why I like to have a 3-prong extension cord, so I can have all plugged in at the same time. So, all right, moving along. All right, so back in the car again. I had just cut some of the cardboard out from the cereal box. There's what's left over. But anyway, that being said, I just get it down to about where I need it. I'll put it this side up so I could actually draw on it. Just trying to get it close to shape, and I'll just put it over there just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. You can see where the bolt holes are at, right here. 1 in the front, or 2 in the front that go directly through the floorboard. But all I do is just take my center punch, figure out about where that hole is at. And I want to get this lined up pretty close to where I need it, because I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of cutting. But try and find the hole and just punch on through, and there's my first hole. Then you do the other one over here, the ones in the front, and then you kind of measure about what you need as far as the diameter needed. And you can wallow it out if need be. But normally I don't wallow it out. I'll just do a hole through the center of it. And let me see if I can do another one. I'll show you what I mean. I'll just do one here real quick. Okay, and then what I do, I'll push all the cardboard back down, because I want to get it kind of centered. Because when you go to get that, when you do a punch with the center punch to know about where to drill, I like to have it as centered close as possible. So if you push all the cardboard back down, it's easier to get it centered up when you've got to make that hit. And I'll just use this template here, as far as that's concerned, to center it up. If you got a big old wide open hole like this, if it's all opened up, then you got to find out. See, let me show you. Let me open it up a little bit. Now you're going to try and make that punch on the metal. Now you got to find the center of the hole here, so that way when you drill through the metal, it's not all off when you're trying to make that bracket through, fit right here. as far as that's concerned. So I just punch it and then have the center where that hole went through, and punch right here, right onto the metal. I'll put this right on top of the metal, put this right in the center, and then hit it. So, but this is just cardboard, serial board box. You can use paper. I didn't even use serial box for this one. I had some junk mail, some kind of pamphlet they gave me. It's just junk. I didn't even want it, and I cut it. It was a little bit thicker. You don't want just one single sheet of paper, because what's going to happen here when you set this down and you put on it, it's going to bend and it's going to flex like so. So it'll flex. You don't want it to flex, because then when your measurements, when you're trying to get straight across and you got to try and do your measurements, everything's going to be off. So better to use something a little bit thicker, cardboard. You know, if you got to use a bunch of pieces of paper, stack them together, so it's a little bit more straighter and it's not flexing on you, because you want it straight. This is great if you're trying to do something where it's trying to flex, but it's not what I'm doing on this particular one. So anywho, let me get out of here. I'll show you kind of a little bit better what I mean as far as what I'm doing as far as making the punch. All right, so right here I've got some of my scrap metal that I had laying around. I put it on the on my engine hoist. Just that's a good place to put it. It'd be kind of hard to make the hole otherwise, but I just put my cardboard up there over it. Let's say if this is where I need to make the hole at, then all I do, I just put my punch right there in the center and hit it, and I don't have to try and figure out where the center of the hole needs to be when I do it. And then when I drill it, good to go. And a step drill bit is good, because if you don't get the holes exact, like you've got to have one right here and one right here, and they have to be precise. If they're not precise, you know, if you have a step drill bit, you can go a little bit thicker, and you can put a washer down if need to move it over so the bolt doesn't go all the way through the metal, whatever the case there. And be careful, just because, you know, everything lines up to begin with. If you're using a flux core welder or any other kind of welder, whatever the case, when you heat it up, just because it lines up to begin with, the heat will make things expand and contort. May not be the exact spec, so you may want to put a tack, you know, if you're trying to weld it up, you may want to put a tack here and a tack down there, make sure, and then put it back in, make sure everything lines up before you actually do a whole bead across, or do a couple beads at a time. You can always grind it back down and weld it later, but once you do the whole thing all welded up, that's a big pain in the butt trying to get everything all grinded back down, tear it apart, and re-weld it. So it's always best to do a few tacks here and there. But sorry I don't have mine all put together. That's most of it for the most part. What I can show you, I'm still waiting on that plate to swap it over to a 30 gate for the shifting. But also too, of course, I'm still working on mine. I'm going to order the brackets from Morrison Fabrication. They've got one for ratchet shifters. I think it's like 80 bucks, somewhere around there. My engine bay isn't the cleanest. It's not a show car. It's for just going fast. So got a little bit of cleaning up here. My little cheap red wire there, stuff like that. Nothing major, but do like for it to be as clean as possible, even still. So, but it's work in progress, always is. So, and I don't have deep pockets. If anything, I just save a little bit at a time. I've had this car for a little over 10 years, and it was basically completely stock when I got it. So, and this is where I'm at now. And it's taken me a while, yeah, but that's the dedication that I just put into it, and I'll let it sit. And if you can have a daily driver, great, and it'll definitely help life if you're trying to actually modify. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope this helps y'all out, so stay tuned. So anyway, I was thinking about putting washers here to raise it up a little bit, to have some clearance, so it's not hitting up into my stereo system. Even though I don't have anything going there, I just don't want it hitting up in there in that area. So I was going to use washers, but I figured I'd get another piece. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a couple of sections off. One here just to cover this portion. I don't need that hole right there, so I'll weld over that, and another section over here, and I'll drill through back in the holes again, weld a piece there and there. That should hopefully lift it up enough. I guess we'll see. My parents were nice enough to go and get me some more welding wire, because that's where I was stuck. So I'm just gonna clamp this little piece here over to my side of my engine hoist, clamp it to it with my vice grip so I can have a place to cut it off with my grinding or my cutoff wheel, and cut that little angle right there off. Have one little plate, and weld it and get it going, and then finish all my welds here. And then after I'm all completely done and all, I'll sand it down with my little grind or my sanding disc and get it all painted. I don't want to, you know, I mean, even though I'm not seeing it, I'm not that concerned. I still want to have some pride in it and make it look better so it doesn't look like total crap. But anyway, I guess it's time to get to work. Alright, so working on this piece of metal, just to show y'all what I'm talking about as far as making a template. Cut this little piece of cardboard out to the same diameter here, around the edges. Okay, I've got to get 2 holes there for the drill to go through. So I'm putting it over here on my bracket, same area. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed, so I'm just basically laying it over where I have it. I'm holding it down with my knee, and all I'm going to do, find the holes. Okay, there's 1 hole. Get that out, and then there's the 2nd hole. Okay, then all I do, take this over here, put it right here, and then I just try and put my punch right in the middle and bang away, and I know where to put my my drill bit through. Of course, I can't do this one-handed, so I have to stop for now, but you get the idea. Alright, so I got my 2 bolt holes drilled here, and when I drilled them, they weren't exactly overlaying this to be able to get my bolts through, so all I did, I took it up another notch higher on the bolt hole size as far as the step drill bit, and it's pretty close, as you can tell now. And what I'll do after I cut this plate off right here, before I weld it, put these bolts through the holes, and I run a nut back on the back side, clamp it down so that way when I weld the plate here to the bracket, this isn't going to move. This isn't going to move any, and I'll make sure everything's lined up that way. So the other thing too, when I drill a hole, always do the other side as well. Take it a little bit bigger on the step drill bit, just to knock off any sharp edges there. As far as that's concerned, this part right here is where I'd cut it, but this is the side I'm going to have down, so you won't even be able to see it. All this is going to be kind of grinded down with the little flapper wheel, or the sanding flapper wheel, so you won't really be able to see all this stuff anyway, and then I'm going to be painting over it before I'm done. But anyway, now I just got to do the rear plate. See, and this piece I'm going to hack off, I won't even have that, but I'll have from here to here, this little section right here, and you can see where I've already punched it. And I'll do the same thing back here, and then I'll be welding it back here just the same as I would be the front up here. So gonna see if I can get this one-handed. Got my step drill bit in there. I think I had it started. Yep, right there. So I'm gonna go down about 4 notches. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I just lightly knock off the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing over here on this other one. Knock off the edge there as well. So then I'll just flip it over and hit it the same thing, a little bit bigger on the back side. Just knock off any sharp edges. So you see what I mean? See, this is how it is after I knock off the sharp edges. That's what it looks like beforehand. So I want to just go a little bit bigger and knock off the sharp edges so it's nice and smooth. So as you can see, I got the bolt holes through this one, and it's lining up good. This off right here, and it probably would have lined up pretty perfect on that one. I had to run a nut on each side, but being that this side's close, I can fit the bolt through it, just wouldn't be able to get the nut, so I probably have to put the nut right on the back side and thread the bolt through it, but that'll be holding it on this side just the same as I would the front. So this is what I'm talking about after you weld it, how it's all dirty looking. This right here is where I kind of wiped it off with the wire brush end on my drill bit. And basically all I do, I usually leave my mask on just in case anything gets slung up. But hard to do it one-handed. If you're able to see all that, but I usually have two hands on the drill, but when I'm doing it, there's different wire brush attachments you can use, but you just want to get all that junk off of it so it's a nice clean weld. You can hit it with the flapper disc if you get all the little specks and stuff off. If you can see all those little specks, I generally don't like having those, so I'm going to take the little flapper wheel and beat all those off of it. But anyway, just going to finish up the rest of it and try it out and see how that does as far as fitment. So. Alrighty, and that's the end of it. Putting those two plates on there gave me some gap that I needed, so it's not hitting anything. And this is coming back, and I got plenty of clearance here. So, but that's perfect. So, anyway, I'm not going to paint it and all in the video. Just know it'll be cleaned up and be painted. It'll be looking good. I just gotta get the shift boot on there, but other than that, it's done. I'm happy with it. Good to go. So, y'all got any questions, feel free to give a shout. I'll post updates when I got them. Sorry I don't have my console bolted down all the way, but that's where it should be. Got plenty of gap in there. So, that's exactly what I need. So, it's not going to be hitting anything. So, alright, that's it for this one. Y'all have a good one.